Apple has unveiled a new 8-inch tablet in its biggest product move since the debut of the iPad 2 years ago. The mini iPad marks Apple's first foray into the smaller tablet segment. Here to help us to look into this new gadget is Tech Central Deputy Editor Craig Wilson. Craig, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Let's get straight into this. I mean, it's been a truly prolific year for the innovation of Apple, and we've seen yet another product come to the fore. Is the hype more around the product and what they're actually putting on the table, or the fact that it's another Apple product?
Well, I think what's most interesting about it is that it's something we haven't seen from Apple in a long time, and that's that it's reactionary. Mm-hmm. You know, Apple tends to play by its own rules, release what it wants to release. And the iPad mini, as well as the revamp of the big, the full-sized iPad, which they overhauled a little bit last night, looks like a reactionary move in response to Google's Nexus 7 tablet that's done very well, and interestingly is priced at $130 less. So Apple's clearly feeling confident that it can sell the device even with the higher price tag. And the overhaul of the high-end tablet is also reactionary in that Microsoft's first foray into tablets with the Surface, those are due out next week. And it feels a little bit like Apple wanting to remind the market, we did it first, we did it best. Do you really want to go and try out someone else who perhaps doesn't have the experience we do? Do you want to spend your money on a competitive product?
Lots of complaints, though, about the price tag. And, one's got to ask the question whether they're justified in asking the premium that they do because of the brand that's associated with the product.
Absolutely. The price seems a little strange. The competitors are pitching their full-size tablets at around the same price as the iPad, which is around $500 for the entry-level models. With this smaller tablet, the mini, they're asking $330 as a starting point. Now, not only is this not that far off the higher-end ones, particularly if you buy an old generation like an iPad 2, but it's a full $130 or $80 or so dollars more expensive than Samsung 7-inch offerings, Google's Nexus 7-inch tablet. It's not in keeping with the products around it, and it remains to be seen whether people will be prepared to spend the premium purely on the basis of the brand they're buying into. Apple clearly thinks they will.
Isn't the answer that people are always prepared to spend a premium if the brand is right and the hype is right? I mean, I'm what is known as a late adopter, I think, in technical terms. Like to have a look at what's going on first. A friend of mine bought a Kindle, for example, and he's found out that he can do all the things with Kindle on something else. So his Kindle is now redundant. I presume it's the iPad. Now we have a small iPad. I haven't got the big one yet. Do I need to go through the big one to get to the small one, or are the big ones now redundant?
No, I don't think the big ones aren't redundant at all. I think that's going to remain the focus of the market. I think the smaller ones are pitched to fill a gap in Apple's lineup. It didn't have a smaller offering before. And the small ones are certainly aimed more at people who want a tablet purely for consumption purposes. It's very difficult to type on a 7-inch or 8-inch tablet. Not that it's always that much easier on a larger one, but the larger tablets are still for those who want to consume and perhaps write the odd email or edit the odd document. Whereas I think the smaller tablets are really for people who want to watch video, listen to music, read web pages. But
where those options are limited on this new format, of an iPad, Apple's suite of applications and content commentary will bolster the ability for this to actually compete very effectively next to its competitors. How are you rating that right now?
Well, this is one of Apple's great advantages. Because it was first in this game, it's got the most developed app store, it's got the widest range of products available and applications that you can use on them. And Apple, because the resolution of the new Mini is the same as the iPad 2, all of the existing iPad apps will work on it. So this is one of Apple's strengths, is it's got this very, very strong, well-developed, mature ecosystem of products that tie into the actual hardware. And the Mini hits the ground running in this sense because everything that Apple has already will work on it.
I had a note yesterday from Canon Asset Managers that made 2 points. The one which we referred to briefly yesterday was Mr. Price being more than the value of the entire construction sector. Yes. But he makes another point, Jeff Blount from Canon. He says Apple's market cap is currently $660 billion. The market cap of all the listed shares in Spain, Italy, Portugal and Greece is about 640. So Apple's worth more than all the listed shares in 4 countries. You can buy all of Southern Europe's stocks for less than the cost of Apple. So he says Apple's certainly a great business for investors, but isn't it now overblown?
I think so. I mean, if we look at the rapid growth, at the beginning of this year, Apple's share price was hovering around $400. It's now, as of this morning, in the $620 range. It fell about 3% in after-hours trading, but that's not much of a correction. There are those who say it is overvalued, and can it maintain the momentum to keep this share price this high? Can it keep producing enough new products that people actually want to buy? The other problem is, how many new sellers can you possibly sell to? People don't want to upgrade their device every 6 months.
Well, people said that about cell phones, No one expected 130%
That's exactly
penetration.
it, and I've come across commentary. I mean, the introduction of a smaller iPad at a lower price also marks a stronger attempt by Apple to tap the corporate and education markets, aiming at large new source of revenue beyond the consumer market that Apple has focused on for the last decade. How are you rating where are your confidence levels are sitting with Apple's innovation from here on out, and this obviously after the death of Steve Jobs?
So we certainly haven't seen any problems in the hardware. The hardware continues to astound and continues to really set the bar for other manufacturers to live up to. The one thing that Apple has been trailing a little bit on lately is the operating system behind it. There are those who argue that iOS 6, which is their most recent version of their mobile operating system, is not quite keeping abreast of the likes of Android, and that this is the area of innovation that perhaps Apple really needs to work on. It also remains to be seen whether they're going to move into other fields like TV. There's still rumors that Apple's going to build its own television. But for the time being, in terms of hardware, the innovation remains second to none.